the best way that I've seen that you can help someone and that I've been helped by people is by being who you are and being present
Yes.
and being open, whether you're gregarious and all those kind of things we said or not.
Yeah.
The peace that someone brings and the vitality that someone brings by being who they are and not masked by what they think they need to be or should be or have become out of self-protection or hurt or pain. Part of being who you are is having healing and seeking an awareness of why do I behave that way?
Right. All right, everybody. I'm here with Joshua Bingaman. I am so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you.
You inspire me daily in so many different ways. I mean, your energy, the way I see you with people, other people, the type of, just the vibration of love that you get, like when I'm around you, and I've seen you in so many different settings. I look up to you in terms of what you've done with business and with your career. And I love just seeing you with your family. There's just so many different things about you that inspire me, and I've gotten to see your health, and I've gotten to see some things with your fitness. So there's so many things that I think we can share with the audience. So I'm just super pumped to have you on the show, man.
Cool. Thank you. That is very, very kind. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to kind of just start with talking a little bit about how you and I first met. Do you remember our original, even one of our first conversations?
Well, I picture multiple times because it would seem kind of not last second, but we'd just connect and hang out. But help me with the first time.
I remember the very first one that I can remember is I'm at the gym, I've been coaching, and Jesus, a guy who looks just like Jesus, walks up to me.
Looks like Jesus, doesn't act like Jesus.
Yeah, long hair and a beard and this great smile.
Uh-oh.
And you come up and say, hey, I used to work out, but I haven't been working out for a while, and I'm looking for a new gym.
Yeah.
And
was this Fortitude or Strive?
This was Strive.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this was Strive.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, you were like, I've been at some other gyms before, and these have been what some of my experiences have been, and I'm ready to get back in the game.
Okay, yeah, I remember that, because when you said that, I picture immediately okay, that time we had coffee, or that time we talked for a long time on the phone, but those are what I remember off the bat instead of the first time I come in and I'm all chubby and angry and sweaty and I need to work out again.
Yeah. Well, and then the birth of a beautiful relationship. We've become good friends, and we've had all these other experiences together.
We've only just begun.
It's really we have, because it's just been a couple years.
Yeah, and you've been on duty a good last few months at least. So,
yeah.
We don't have to go there if you don't want to.
No, I mean,
okay.
That's been part of my experience with life, is just things in the world have happened that have put me on military duty quite a bit. So,
wow.
So being able to maintain our relationship through that has been awesome too.
Cool.
So that's one of the things that I've loved watching, is your journey with your health and your fitness.
Yeah, that's been big.
Yeah. Where would you say you're at right now with, and how far have you come, and what have been your experiences with health and fitness?
I'm definitely in the best place I've ever been, health and fitness wise. I have looked back a lot, but especially in the last year, at what fitness or health has been for me. I mean, from whether it was when I was skating growing up, but still unhealthy, drinking and smoking. But then even when I was older, I've always had a place in my life for fitness, from even when it was sports. If I wasn't eating healthily, I still was super active. And then everywhere I've lived, I have found a gym to go to. And I think it wouldn't usually be nice gyms. Like when I lived in Hollywood, I found the YMCA, and I'd literally ride my bike there all the time and just work out and it was old, it was ghetto, it was run down. And I was always like, why did I do that? I'd sit in steam rooms, I'd swim, and there's just always been a release for me. And then coming to Austin, I joined that Pure Austin gym. Beto was a pretty good buddy. And then I got a little bit involved with the Atomic Athlete guys in the very beginning. And then ever since then, it was just all on my own. I mean, going to the gym, I would cycle some with some people. But when we moved out here, I was going to that HT Fitness, and it was fine. It was great. I got a trainer even just to keep me up to par, but it was pretty arduous, and it was 2, maybe 3 times a week, and I was always alone and isolated in it. Like I just didn't know other people that worked out or would work out with people. And then when I saw you guys, I was dropping my girls off next door to where the gym is right now for ballet.
Yeah.
Both girls. So I'd see you guys a couple times a day in the classes and everybody doing everything crazy. And I had that mentality of like, that's dumb and those people are crazy. And I've heard about them, not you guys specifically, but people that work out that way. People, right. But then I've always been extreme with everything. So once you guys got me in and I got on a rower and rode till I was sick, I was like, okay, this is my thing. And literally except for when I've had to travel, I've gone 5 days a week for at least 2 years now.
At least. Yeah. And those are a couple of the things that I've like really appreciated about you. And as your coach, sometimes like you have this drive that is so impressive. You've got this like engine, this motor, and obviously something internally that like really allows you to kind of keep pushing. And as a coach, I think great coaches know their people, and sometimes you got to like push people a little harder, and sometimes you got to rein people in. And you and I have gone across that spectrum, over the years.
Right.
But like I just love that drive that you have. And do you know where that's born from, or where that comes from, or like what is that for you?
Whenever I do anything, I'm not like, I do it 110%, but I've always gone, I didn't realize till even getting a little bit older, further than kind of what average Joe does, whether it be with working out or business or reading or knowing certain movies and film, music. It's like, I'm not going to just kind of listen to music. I'm going to play it and I'm going to try to get a record deal.
Right.
Like it's extreme footwear, whatever it is. My brother's like that with theology and education and footwear as well, but where I don't know if it's we grew up in a religious home, and I don't know if I always have this. I even said it today in one of the classes where I don't say this pompously, but I was like passing people and I was adding weight to the tire and I kept getting heavier kettlebells and one of the ladies was like, what are you doing? It's like an anomaly. And I jokingly automatically said, I'm burning off sins or guilt. I said, I have shame from growing up, faith or a God, that my shame is about as real as knowing if God is, So I think I jumped back to probably a performance-based, and it's not for anyone in particular. I think I hold myself accountable to a level of performance that if I don't reach it, not just in working out, in life, I beat myself up. So that's not healthy because I do it even when we've tried to do all these food things and challenges. I'm just now getting to where I'm balancing out to, okay, I got to do this for a good reason, not hurt myself, be at peace, take care of myself for other people like my family. And that's just been, I think part of it is not controlling a drive, but directing what the drive is and finding outlets that aren't detrimental.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot because throughout my life, I've always been like someone who's tried to be a high achiever, someone who's accomplished more than other people. And I think for a good portion of my life, a lot of that was born in like feeling like I wasn't enough. I felt like
for sure.
I needed to fill a hole in my heart, or I needed to prove myself to other people. I think a large part of my military career in particular was about that.
Yeah.
And what I have been trying to do lately is think about, well, this isn't a way of me getting anything out of this, like this, what I'm achieving, but it's my way of giving, and trying to find purpose, and that keeps me, because I used to, with that old way of being, I would crash and burn all the time. Yeah. I would achieve, work. And then I would find myself in bed for 3 days depressed, or I just have a complete letdown, and now that I've found more purpose and I've found it as a means of like giving of myself, not trying to find something or take something. That's been life-changing for me. I've been able to be more consistent. I feel energized and not drained.
Right.
You know, and it sounds like you may be kind of like you're finding some of that for yourself now too. Is like it's like you're retargeting what you're trying to get out of your well-being.
Yeah. Directing where the flow is going because it's rapid. But I think part of it has been a challenge for me over the last probably 20 years, like since Sarah and I were married, even accepting limitations and weaknesses. I don't know if embracing them is the right word. I've heard that before, but where it's just like figuring out who you are as part of the process and putting aside images of yourself. Like I've had this idealized image that over the years I've realized we all change, but that image that I have built of myself, it couldn't be more opposite of who I really am or what my heart is.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. I call that strong suits, where like a lot of our strong suits, things that we've created, part of our character, are born out of what you said, feeling the opposite of, right? If I feel like uninteresting or people don't want me, then I might act or create a part of my persona that's funny and outgoing and you know, something that is attractive.
Yeah.
And if I feel if I feel like maybe vulnerable, I might act strong. You know, and so I think we create parts of our identity because we often feel the opposite of, you know?
Yeah. I think it's interesting too, though, what you said, I totally relate to that. But things that we've used as, what's the word? Not a crutch, but like to protect yourself growing up or from things that you've experienced. What's that word? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it's like
defense mechanisms?
Defense mechanism like that. But I think learning as I've gotten older, I'm 40 now, 41.
You're not very old.
Man.
Yeah, you're not very old.
Where we, in using those defense mechanisms, we can lose who we are, ourselves and our hearts and who we're created to be and what we're created to be. And even what we really enjoy to do can be lost because you're trying to protect yourself, whether it be from pain or hurt or injuries, not physically could, but I mean emotionally and spiritually. And I think with I keep saying it feels like I'm learning so much more every day because the further I get away from an ego or who I think I am or what I think I am or accomplishments or having 3 kids now, the amount of crow that I feel I've eaten, but even in business where it's like separating your identity from what you do and who you think you are, how you think people see you, the freedom that comes from that you made me think of it when you said when I came into the gym and I was smiling and loving and want to hug people and everything. I'm like, that's me.
That is you.
And I used to be like, I'm isolated, tortured artist, alone, nobody understands. And now like, even today in the class, George, the old guy that I love him, but like he came in and he came to me and came in for a hug.
Yes.
And it was like, okay, COVID's over, post embrace, but like it was a real hug. And I was like, fuck, can I cuss on this?
Yes.
I was like, fuck yeah, dude, this is why I'm here. Like all that with the people and the community and the interaction all day, every day. That's what fuels me.
Well, that's one of the reasons what you just said and who you are and what you represent for me in my own life is exactly nailing it. Like when I see you on fire and when I consider to be your best, that's who you are. You're this welcoming, loving, like energetic person, and everyone around you is like drawn to that. Like, I mean, like who you are in our gym community is that, the person who you're known for helping to raise the energy, the vibration of the entire room.
That's cool.
And it's not like that's when it seems effortless for you when I see you in those moments when you're really kind of like being who you are. There's no weight on you. I can see there's no weight, and I love that and how you cool. give that to the world.
I think seeing, we're just going back and forth. Well, I love you because
I love you.
No, but
more.
when I see you, you can tell with people when they're being who they are, literally at the core, like who they're created to be, what they're so happy in a place of having accepted life on life's terms. That's what I've heard, but like where you're truly who you are and living from your heart, man, all that, the stuff I was saying, that you were called the defense mechanisms, but these things where it's like, I act different ways in front of different people. This is me saying this objectively, so that I'll be liked or accepted or protect myself in these settings and situations. When all that bullshit goes away, you're like, oh wait, this is who I am.
Right.
All the time. And I'm living from my heart. And if I'm in the right place with the right people, it benefits them as much as it does me. Like that's the thing. I've told you where Tracy's the market that you and your wife and a couple partners bought. To go down there, I'll be sullen, I'll be holed up at the house, and I'll be like, I'm alone and I'm reading and I'm Ernest Hemingway and just all the silly stuff. And then I'll come down there and there's people, and it lights me up, and there's like a yoke lifted off of me, and high fives and hugs and how are the kids, and just all these interactions. That literally is my fuel. And it's not like that for everybody.
No.
But for me, it's like, I always have to remember and accept that when I get in those settings, that's when I am who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's like an interesting marriage of all that, like, because like you said, you've always, used your physicality, your fitness, your movement or whatever. And then there's like this social capacity, and it sounds like you're finding balance in all of that as you're kind of like moving on in life. And I'd love to hear, because you have accomplished so much. I mean, you've had many businesses, like you mentioned. You were in the shoe game, and you were in the coffee game, you're in the music game, and you have all these accomplishments. And I am curious, like, how do you see all of this playing into what you want to achieve through things like your career or through your work?
I think even with you saying that, when I've looked back on it, when I've stopped long enough to look back on some of it, it always comes back to business-wise, having this coffee shop or roaster or coffee shops. I enjoy the most being behind the bar.
Yeah.
And being on the floor and with the people, and with the shoe store and the shoe company. My favorite parts weren't necessarily traveling, but were the people at the shows in Vegas and the factories in Istanbul and Maine, and doing all the PR in New York and LA and stuff. I loved it. Yeah. I loved that part. I didn't and don't love, and I'm able to say this now, going over spreadsheets and sitting in board meetings and doing staff, just management meeting, these things that require you to sit at a desk. I've really had to accept that's not my MO. And there's nothing wrong with me that I don't like to do that. But even just with helping people with projects, to answer your question, I've become I'm making quote for those of you listening, a consultant.
Yeah.
But I jokingly tell people when they ask what I do, I tell people what I've done wrong. People hire me to tell them what not to do.
I mean, which is massively valuable.
Yeah. If I would have had somebody tell me what not to do in the beginnings of all my businesses, I would have saved a lot of heartache and relationships and money. And but I've related to this with you, because I remember when I first started at Strive, and you were doing this 30-day challenge thing, and you've got this video. I don't know if I've told you this, but you've got your phone and you're walking around and you're like, hey, if you want to do this 30-day Strive. And I'm like, who is this guy? Because you turned into a little kid and you don't have your hat on, you're smiling real big. And then I started to realize, when you're doing stuff that requires you to be isolated in a hotel room on a computer or at a desk, or wherever it is that you're on a computer at a desk, that's not where you're thriving.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that, to the extent of like, there's stuff like that we have to do. We got to pay the bills and shit like that. But when you're on the ground level and you're at the gym and you're with people and you're helping people progress or become, that sounds so trite, better people.
Yeah.
That's exciting to me. Like, to be on these phone calls and Zoom and all that, that is what it is. But then to go to the person, and they've hired me to help them start the business up, or to build out a cafe, or to put together their PR plan, put together their newsletter, their email newsletters, and do any sort of marketing, and do any sort of building their website, just the stuff that can be really daunting to people in the very beginning.
Right.
That I really enjoy doing. It's really fun to help people see and realize if they are not able to get out of their funnel, their tunnel vision, to pull them out of it and step back and be like, let me help you see this bigger picture, and let me help you integrate what we can right now so that you can attain that, or at least have the freedom of not feeling like you're in the trenches all day, every day.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about that, going back to what you said a couple minutes ago about how you went through all these businesses and you had all these experiences and found out what you didn't love. You know, my perspective is that you had to have all those experiences to be exactly where you are right now, so that you can help other people figure out, you know, that's the gift that you're going to give. And you had to, quote unquote, suffer through that so that you could really be on fire now and help other people to, you know, I try not to let people I try not to prevent people from making their mistakes, because like you said, you and I have both learned so many lessons from those, but also maybe make it a little less painful, you know, for them, and maybe a little more short-lived.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of, I mean, people have said like, where'd you get your degree and everything? It's like, well, I didn't finish college multiple times, and I focused on writing and literature and poetry, but people have realized or said like the street smarts, especially of business, or being able to help people from the ground up, from startup to being in a place where it's like time to scale the business, is from doing it. You know, like 20 years of just, I don't call it failure. It's hard sometimes when I spin out and be like, oh, I've never really succeeded and everything. People think I'm so successful and I can't pay the bills. It's like, yeah, but what you were saying about what you've learned and kind of the backbone that's given you, but also the ability and capability to persevere. Yeah, there's words like that where people are like, how do you continue when it's like everything's over? There's no way I'm going to turn this corner. And I deal with that stuff I'm dealing with it right now with a business, my business, one of my businesses, where it's like perseverance, the ability to, what's it called? Like if you run a marathon and you can keep going, what's that called? I'm short on words. Endurance. Yeah. Yeah. No, literally, like I'm short on words right now. I'm on a cup of coffee. I need more coffee in the afternoon. The endurance and the willingness and ability to not stop, even if it means you're crawling, or you might be like prostrate on the ground and you're like, I'm done. There has to be something left in you to be able to get up and keep going.
And you can't learn that in a classroom.
Oh, hell no.
I mean, that's the thing that I tell people is like, they ask me, well, what certifications should I go get, and what classes should I take, and what degree should I should get? And I'm always like, no, man, go out there and do it. You might actually learn something, like something real and valuable, you know, rather than trying, you know, and that's another thing of making myself less than. I don't know enough, so I'm going to go to school. I don't feel like I can do this, so I need to go learn more before I go do it. And it's like, no, man. You can do it. You know everything you need to know. Just get out there and do it. Right. And you're gonna fall on your face. Right. So let's just go ahead and get that right out of the way. Yeah. I mean, I just closed down. I mean, Fortitude in Austin. You know, my baby, my original gym. You know, I just closed it down, and of course, I had a few moments of feeling sorry for myself. But at the same time, first of all, I learned so much through that business. I mean, it was literally like having a doctoral degree in, you know, because you just learn so much. And I'm thankful for that failure, because that failure, if I have to eat that failure, I'm going to make it worth it. Right. Yeah. You know, I'm going to leverage that failure into something better.
That's not easy to do. I remember us talking multiple times where it's like, it takes a lot more guts and strength. What was that? Neil Young about fading. It's better to burn out than to fade away. Yes. Like it's like, okay, let's cut it clean. Let's cut bait.
Yep.
We're done here.
Yep.
That is hard to do. I've been lucky enough in settings like that where I can get bought out or I can sell it, even if it's a fire sale and pennies on the dollar. And God forbid I'm in another setting like that, but where it's right now, I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It gets to where it's like, if you don't take these risks, something that when you just said that about closing that gym, and we had talked about how hard that was going to be for you in the process of it emotionally, because like you said, you have the blood and sweat and tears that, real quick, God bless the people that do go to college and get degrees, and we need doctors and lawyers. My wife has degrees on the wall in her office, and that gives her the ability to be able to counsel and to psychologically help people and emotionally. She couldn't do that legally or whatever without the degrees, but she really learned a lot through that, and doing the practicums and going back and all this stuff. That sucks, but it's part of it for that career, and that's what's in her heart. So she does those things. When I meet with people in the beginning, people will hire me and say, I want to start this business. Here's my business plan. If they even have that, hopefully, here's my budget, here's my projections and everything. But I try to sit with them and ask them enough of these, 5 to 8 questions that I ask people to see if they're really up for it, whether they have a degree for it or not. Ask them questions that test whether they, like we were saying, have the endurance.
Yeah, I heard you and I had this conversation one time, and you had this really cool term for that, and I can't remember what it was.
It might have just dropped on the scene. I tend to ramble when the muse drops. What was it?
I can't remember now, but it was you called it. It was like you were speaking about like the quality of someone to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And
I think I was using the I had said something about The Shining, that old movie with like Jack Nicholson, where that might not be it, but I've viewed this before where I'll sit across from somebody and it can be a couple or a dude or a girl, and I'm like, either they have it in their eyes or not. They're crazy or they're not.
It was something about the crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man, you had a name for it.
Maybe it was because I've had these different feelings that I literally feel where it's like there's a disease. I said this one time and it stuck with me, of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And you have, it's like somebody that's like, you're an alcoholic, you're an addict, or you're a gambler or whatever. You have the disease of entrepreneurialism. Is that the word?
Entrepreneurship? So
you think I know, whatever that is, whatever those crazy people that start businesses are, or you don't. And I can usually tell, if not with the questions, I can tell by the person.
Yeah.
And again, that I don't say that pompously. I say it that I have it. Yeah. And sometimes you don't want it. Yeah. And it's exhausting, and it can be detrimental for relationships and for your health and for sanity. But I'll ask people a few questions of, are you ready to, this might mean you put your house on the line. This might mean this relationship with you with this person's not going to work. Like, let me just tell you what's happened with me and see if you have thick enough skin to handle this. Because nobody that has started a business anywhere, anytime, that has done it from the ground up, especially without funding, has not gone onto the battlefield and just been filled with shrapnel.
Yeah, it's not for the weak or faint of heart.
Well, and when people come and say like, it's the beautiful, like I remember when I opened my first shoe store, I was like, it's going to be awesome. My brother and I did it. We're in San Francisco. It's going to be super cool. And then as we started to finish out the space and not sleep multiple nights, and then the inventory and the shows and the customers and the staffing and everything, I was like, holy shit, this is rough.
Yeah.
And then
this is what work really is.
Oh my gosh. And I'm like, I don't want to say like people have no idea what it's like, but until you've done that, until you've been in those trenches and eaten, like I said, that much crow and just crawled in the dirt. And then even my brother and I, we were super tight, and then it threatened our relationship. And then we were estranged for years because of a business.
Yeah.
But that's what I have to tell people they have to be ready for.
Well, and that's the other part of the business. That's the part that I've tried to let go. You said something earlier that I thought was beautiful about business. It was in relation to attachment to your identity, and that's something that I've had to let go of. And I had all those ups and downs, especially with Fortitude when that was like my only business. Like it was like how that business was doing completely controlled my self-worth, how I felt about people, how comfortable I felt in social settings, like
Sure.
how I thought people were looking at me. And I think the growth and maturity of someone who's gonna own businesses for the long term is really unattaching. Okay, yeah, I can run a business.
Good point.
I can give to it, but
It's not me.
It's not me.
Yeah.
And I'm not attached to the business can do its thing and I can be independent of it and I can maintain myself,
Right.
and I think that's been a important skill that I've had to learn.
Sure.
And so Fortitude closing, if coronavirus had happened even 5 years ago, probably it would have devastated me. It would have I would have emotionally been just leveled by the whole thing. And so that level of growth is, me having handled the whole situation like I did, I'm proud of myself.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that I showed maturity to myself.
That's a big deal.
Well, shifting gears a little bit, but kind of talking about the ups and downs of people listening have all different types of careers. They might be accountants. They might be counselors like your wife. They might be all different types
We need them.
Of course, we need these
Balance.
people. Yeah.
If it was all entrepreneurs, we'd be fucked. The whole world.
Oh, well, can you imagine?
No, please no.
But the thing that I'm curious about is how, especially in recent years, or because you mentioned earlier that you're in the best place physically and health-wise that you've been in, and at least in a very long time. Do you feel like that's contributed to your lifestyle, your career? What's the bigger picture of your fitness and your health?
I think the bigger picture is not only being there for my wife and my kids.
You mean like in the long run? Like
in the long run and
yeah.
even day to day, where it's like if I make it a priority to take care of myself, and again, I know this isn't rocket science, but it's really hard for somebody that doesn't stop working.
Right.
I've had to learn how to stop working, how to turn it all off, and then how to prioritize literally working out or how I eat, not so how I look, but so how I feel, and accepting, because I'm so often, when you work as much as someone who has the crazy does, you lose the ability to be aware or to be present in your body. So I won't even realize I'm not sleeping, or I'm not eating, or I'm eating really bad, or I'm sleeping really bad, or my workouts become they become punishment to myself for things I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Or working out harder because I haven't worked out enough or in long enough time, or because I ate.
Yeah, you're flogging yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. I was going to say self-flagellating, but that sounds too much like flatulating. So I think that's a huge part of what's happened, even in just this last 30-day challenge we started, where my wife was like, well, you and I were talking about, speaking of extremes, I had tried to do the carnivore thing out of nowhere, the Paul, whatever his name in Austin is.
Yeah.
You know him? I don't.
I've met him.
Okay,
yeah. He's
Saladino.
Yeah.
Salad.
Something like that.
He's a meat only. Salad. So I had just tried to start that, and then I've just done so many stupid, crazy fasts and vegan and everything across the spectrum. And my wife's like, "Oh no, not again! Like, leave." But the difference this time that you just said is like, "Whoa, wait! This is for balance. This is for self-care. The purpose of this is so that I can perform, and perform meaning for those around me. Like you said, give." I can't give wholeheartedly or give without being aware of it. When you get to where you're giving naturally without, or habitually without forcing yourself to give or thinking oh God, I have to give in this situation. I have to morph and push and bend myself to give. And by give, I mean help do the dishes,
Right.
read to my kids at night, be present on the board call. Like that's what I mean by drinking enough water. That's
Yeah.
what I mean by working out steadily and
Yeah.
healthily. That's what I mean by eating something at lunch instead of something else so that I'm present. Being present, like we said earlier, and who you are and living from your heart, that's giving.
Right.
So I think that's been
In this moment. And
Yeah.
if my body and my mind and my soul isn't healthy in this moment, I can't give my gifts.
Right.
This is the vessel of my vibration and my energy.
Yeah, exactly.
And when this vessel is run down and broken, it's not vibrating right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And that's, I mean, literally you can realize that or feel if you're on that vibration, if you're in the right place, like you're saying, energetically and you're present, you're living from your heart, you can tell pretty quick when people aren't.
Yeah.
And when they're not open or when they're unhealthy as a whole being.
Right.
Or when they might need help. The best way that I've seen that you can help someone and that I've been helped by people is by being who you are and being present
Yes.
and being open, whether you're gregarious and all those kind of things we said or not.
Yeah.
The peace that someone brings and the vitality that someone brings by being who they are and not masked by what they think they need to be or should be or have become out of self-protection or hurt or pain. Part of being who you are is having healing and seeking an awareness of why do I behave that way?
Right.
So ultimately it comes back to, and my wife says this to clients, self-care. When you take care of yourself so that you can take care of others, that's the goal.
Yeah.
So that's how my fitness has changed is I'm working out for the release and the feeling of it. And I just love at the end of it, the endorphin rush and just like how hard can I go? And I don't know why it's in me.
Yeah.
But then I feel so much better for the day and for my kids. And then I eat better because I'm working out.
Right.
And then
Well, it's all
connects.
purpose. And that's what it comes down to for me. It's not the fitness having a purpose, and whatever your purpose is and whatever you've decided your purpose is. But, I've gotten used to saying this, like this a human optimization, right? And I'm not punishing myself. I'm not trying to become, give myself worth or anything through my fitness or make myself attractive. I'm trying to optimize myself so I can give more of myself so that I can be the best, like you said, with my family and my job or whatever
so
else.
different, isn't it?
It's completely different.
This is funny because I've wanted to text you. I have a couple times, and then I have with my, what do you call them right now? Our partners.
Your accountability
my
buddy.
accountability buddy. I'll be like, okay, yo, I'm at the movie. I was going to get a huge bag of Twizzlers and a Coke, and I usually would, and popcorn, and then eat my kids' Milk Duds too. But I got a bottle of water, and literally I didn't do all that because I would care about how it would affect my body. Normally I'd be like, I'm not going to eat this so that I can attain this goal of this weight or this fat to muscle ratio.
Because what you're really saying is because I'm not enough.
Right.
Because I'm,
if you have to go there.
Well,
no, I'm kidding. You're right.
But really, right?
Yeah, you took
my
it all the
weight
way.
Isn't good enough. My body
myself
doesn't look. Yeah.
Right.
And I would.
Yeah, there's security. I have security around me, but I look in the mirror and I'm like, dude, no way. Come on. But at the end of the movie and during the movie, how much better I feel and how I am there for my kids and I'm not in the car and snapping at them. I don't have a headache. I don't feel bloated. We're good for dinner. I order healthily at dinner. I know, again, that doesn't all sound like rocket science, but for somebody who, for I don't know how many years, 30 plus years, is not present in their body.
Yeah.
To then be aware of those things is like, I'm Lazarus, like some sort of awareness of being raised from the grave, enlightening wise, gives me so much more ability to love my wife, serve my wife, to love my kids, to be there for my friends and respond, not out of obligation, and ultimately what might lead to feeling, what's the word, resentful?
Yeah.
It's like, instead of that, being open and full enough and taken care of enough to be able to respond and to be able to say like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
even without saying it.
Right. I was just going to say that they feel that.
Right. Exactly. Your presence.
But when your health isn't there, when you're not optimal, when you're not, giving the right energy, you're blocked, right? And people feel that.
Yeah. And that's just such a paradigm shift from doing this to be able to run faster, or doing this to be able to lose this much weight, or do it for people's lives that are that, athletes and things like that, right on.
Great.
But for everyday Joe like us that is working class family dad, or mom or sibling or single person that is in a day-to-day life that they need to be there for people, they have to be there for themselves.
Right.
And that's not selfish. That sounds like it's the opposite of how it sounds selfish. It's not selfish to do that so that you can be altruistic.
Well, you're also lighting the path for them by showing them how it's done.
Sure, that's a good
point. By being an example, by being a role model,
right.
You're giving to them just as much as you're giving it just by example.
Totally.
You know
that slips my mind, but it's happening because I'm being healthy.
Right.
I mean, there has to be a balance to it. But yeah, I mean, Samuel, my son, he works out and eats healthy because I do.
Yeah.
And because he goes with me and sees it and is part of it.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have. So for the audience that doesn't know Sammy, he comes to class. He's just a ball of energy, and he's such a pleasure to have.
Yeah.
He's the most mature young man. How old is Sammy?
Sammy's 13 going on. I mean, because of his mother too. Yeah, the emotional intelligence in our home. And then him just being with me half the time, I'm like, who is this kid? Because he is open and fun and gregarious and loves listening to music and working out and stuff. But then he's also very soft and in touch with emotions and people and his heart.
Yeah.
And
he's the perfect mix of you and your wife. I mean, he is like, he has all of
hopefully
your guys'
a little bit
best
more
parts.
of her.
No, I mean, he's I see both of you guys, and he's just an amazing, all your kids. I mean, I remember you bringing your daughters to the ballet classes and just being so impressed with their energy and who they are. And it says a lot about you and your wife.
It's what you just said though. Yeah. We, and my wife has pushed it so hard in our home and our family for so long. We take care of ourselves so that we can be there for our kids.
Yeah.
And then our kids learn to take care of themselves. And again, it's like, well, of course. And it's like, no, I mean, like in our day and age, especially when you can't look up from your phone, that's what you're showing them.
Yeah.
So when you're showing them that you read and that you go outside and that you drink water and that these things that seem so rudimentary are really a big deal, especially in today's day and age.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Time to get out of that.
Completely guilty. It's so easy to get sucked into that. So I understand, why people might do that. And, but I agree with you. It's just like trying to be like here.
Yeah. When people say that, even when I've heard you say it, it's kind of a trigger for me because again, of religious upbringing or a Christian academy schooling and stuff where when people use the word discipline, I automatically kick into this kick my own ass mode.
Right.
But that's not what it means.
No.
Discipline is turning your phone off.
Yes.
Discipline is, it's not like I have to go to the gym and get shredded. Discipline is like, I'm going to wake up a little earlier. You guys, out of everybody, you and other people in our group, to journal for me is absurd. And I'm on umpteenth day of the freedom of being able to just like free flow, right?
Yeah.
We don't care what it is. I'm like, well, what about the margins and what about the structure and what Roman numeral 2? How do I?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, dude, just write. And then the meditation being what you find that works. There being, I guess, kind of some structure and boundaries that you can bounce off of. Boundaries even feels negative to me, but it's like, that's not what it is. It's the ability to be in this big, safe kind of bubble and bounce off the sides of it and become who you are right in the middle of this sphere.
Yeah. It's just feedback.
It's feedback. And it's being able to accept the feedback humbly, but then also being able to use that feedback structurally and benefit from it.
Yeah.
That's a safe place to have that. That sounds cheesy, but we even say it in our family, to feel secure, to feel safe, to feel steady. Yes. Sarah's taught me that and our family with meals and with bedtime and with how we just kind of function as a unit. I feel that at the gym. I
Yeah.
feel that in healthy relationships with friends.
Yeah, it has some structure, it has some form.
Yeah.
You know what to expect.
Yeah. And again,
You
to a
know?
lot of people, it's like, well, of course, that's just kind of how it, and for me, it's been really hard. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the addict in me or the manic
Mhm.
or the athletic part of me, the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I used to not even want to call myself that for years. I'd say I'm not an entrepreneur. I just own a coffee shop. Or
Yeah.
I just sell shoes, man. I'm not an entrepreneur. And then enough people told me that's what I am.
Yeah.
But then I started to realize, to a degree, there are kind of some crazy entrepreneurs. That doesn't mean I went to Harvard or Stanford and then put together a huge plan and got all these investors and everything. Again, my hat's off to people that do that.
Sure.
I mean, that would be amazing, but
Yeah.
like, that's just not the way I scrapped.
Right. Yeah, and like there's with all of these ways of being, there's 1,000 ways to do it. You just got to pick the one that works for you.
Or pick the wrong one and realize that wasn't the one.
Yeah,
and then
which is how
go through 999 of
yeah,
them.
and then you eventually find the right one.
Let me know when you're there. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm not yet.
I'll let you know. Well, as so maybe as a last question is, if someone who's struggling with finding their balance, finding their health, find their well-being of the way that they're going to serve the world and how they're going to find their purpose, where would you, we can just start with, we could be with the fitness part, but what would you tell somebody who might be listening right now how to get into a better place with their life?
Man, that's a huge question.
Yeah.
Because I've done so many things that I've had to do to bring myself back to center, and they're usually not enjoyable, but there's
Mhm.
something in me where I don't have a choice. I have to get back to center, and that might mean a treatment center. That
Yeah.
might mean a psychiatrist. That might mean medication. That might mean exercise. It might mean dieting. Like there's just so many things that I think it would pertain specifically to each person and where they are right now.
Sure.
But I think as a whole, what I've done in every single situation, whether I have laid down my sword or not, to be able to have some sort of spiritual connection with a higher power,
Mhm.
whether it be, like we said, magnetic energy fields, magnetic stuff, multiple levels, dimensions, or if it's God,
Yeah.
if it's Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to surrender no matter what, no matter where, no matter when, and say, I need help.
Yeah.
Like I am either where you're like, I'm balanced, I'm in a good place, I'm rocking, then say thank you. Express gratitude to everything that's alive because you're alive and you're part of it.
Yes.
Or gratitude to God. Or if everything's really screwed up and you're hurting and you're in pain and you're spinning and in the dark or anywhere in between, to be able to stop and breathe and just try to be present for a second. And if you can't, then whatever is your higher power, to say, I need help breathing. Like, help me do whatever this path is. If it's you, if you're saying it to yourself, and that's what you need, your whatever it is that you have to be able to ask for help and direction and guidance. And that might be a brother or a friend or a sister or a stranger. The only way I've ever made it through anything, ever, even with my own kids, you have to be able to ask, like, yo, I don't know what I'm doing here.
There is so much power. I mean, what you just said is huge because I've found this for myself. I've witnessed it in other people. There is so much strength and power in asking for help and admitting that you need it, and for having the courage to ask for it. And rarely have I ever seen that result in anything other than progress and anything other than improvement.
No question. Or the realization that you can do it.
Right.
You just had to realize you could do it.
Right.
I mean, dude, I have not, and I'm very clear, I can name to this day a majority of the people that I called and said, I don't know what a spreadsheet is. Or that I've said, I literally don't know how to turn this on. And you just get to where you're like, fuck it. I don't care. I don't have anything to lose in this. I don't know how to, I mean, like, dude, I'll stop after this, but I remember this and I always use this. We had a cash register, me and my brother, at our shoe store in San Francisco. It's this giant wall in this old photo studio. It's now Nice Kicks. There's a store there called Nice Kicks that's sick. But I had a giant piece of butcher paper taped to the wall, and I made a huge graph out of a yardstick and wrote down our inventory. No shit. And when we'd ring stuff up with cash, we had a notepad that we'd write size 12 Adidas Superstar sold 1 today with the date. And I would transpose it to that giant chart into the back until we finally met a bookkeeper. I hired her. She changed my life. She showed me how to do QuickBooks, how to do spreadsheets, how to pay bills, AP, AR. I had never heard of any of that. But that is an example that I love to tell people that are just getting started, where they're like, that whole process is very daunting to me, but I want to open a coffee shop so bad. It's like, yo, listen to this.
Right.
You know?
Well, man, I hope everybody listening like took a second and just like caught what he just said. The two most important things is get started, however you get started. Just do it.
Do it, Nike.
And then ask for help early and often.
Dude,
you know,
all the time.
And right there, that is how you are going to achieve 90% of your goals.
Right. Well,
Just
on that
do it.
note, real quick.
Yeah.
If you can shadow anybody in anything that you want to do ever that is doing it, like I go back to when I was a busboy and I would start at different restaurants, watching how the dudes that have done it for a long time do the dishes and load the rack.
Yeah.
And the process of how they close the machine and when they open it and where they stack what and where they take, to how they mop, to how they close the place. You know, when you get a job, being trained by someone that's there to do it. If I could have gone back and shadowed somebody that owned a coffee shop or a coffee roaster or a shoe store, or a shoe company.
Yeah.
Everything I did, I just jumped in, deep in, full force, drown, whatever. I don't suggest that. Some people are built like that. But what you just said, it's like if I was going to open a gym and I was willing to say, yo, Athan, can I just come follow you for days? There's people like you or like me where you're like, hell yeah. Come follow me.
Because that's a form of that is asking for help. I mean, just observing is admitting that you need some help and that you need to learn some things.
And if I can help you avoid hundreds of pitfalls I've had or help you do something that's not mediocre.
Yeah.
Because there's so much out there that's mediocre. We don't need another blank that's done kind of half-ass.
Right.
We need things to be better for the people that are, for the clients, for the people that are partaking in this kind of food or this kind of gym or this kind of footwear. It's like, don't you want to do what's best for them? Because you're on the other side of that too.
Right. And that goes all the way back to what we talked about earlier for me is when you shift it from, hey, look what I can do. Hey, look at what, let me show you my value. Let me show you my worth to, hey, I want to give, I want to serve, I want to help. That's when, of course, you want to be the best. When you're looking at it as like, I'm trying to give you something, that's when it's, I think, more of like, I want to give you the best thing, as opposed to people become mediocre when it's me. It's all about me.
Or it's just like, let me just do what I can to get by.
Right.
Then don't do this.
Right.
Yeah. If you're just going to do that, man, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Just because there's people trying to do things better, not bigger, not, well, it has to be more advanced and huge. It's like, no, just more beneficial. What's just better? And do it from your heart so that it is an extension of you. You were saying that earlier about somebody not being at the business and it being able to function on its own and as well. That's awesome. And that's proof of a good boss and CEO and manager and everything. But I also think to an extent, if it's your heartbeat, if it's your face, if it's your DNA that's caused it, it really is. There's nothing like the owner being there.
Oh, totally. And there's got to be balance in that. I still, to this day, my favorite part of the gym business is the coaching, is being
I know that.
there
I can tell that.
as that's when I'm on fire.
For sure. Yeah.
When I'm the technician, I'm the one right there.
Right.
I feel the best. I feel like I'm connecting. I feel like I'm teaching. I feel like I'm serving. And there's no better feeling than that.
How cool is that though, that's your job? You know, when you can be
How lucky
firing
am
at
I?
all pistons. Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
feel, where it's like slinging coffee or something where I'm like, I'm connecting with these people and I love it. Just a Zoom meeting before this, I'm like, I helped align these things with this person and I was part of it and we connected and we enjoyed it and I'm helping him pursue his dream and his vision that I know is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I can tell he's created for this. Let me help.
Yeah.
Man. And then that's your job.
Yeah.
So cool.
It is. It's the coolest thing ever. And I will say, for anyone who's an aspiring business owner out there or an aspiring entrepreneur, I will say that a couple of things that we've said during this conversation are the ability to plug in and give and to serve, and the ability to unplug and unattach to it,
huge. Yeah.
and
Good point.
go on a vacation and have no worries, have no stress. If you can run a business like that, and you can find it within yourself to be that kind of business owner, you've made it.
That's
and,
balance.
And it's balance, and you're going to do great. That's success.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, as the last question, what do you wish I had asked you about? What do you wish we had talked about that we didn't talk about?
You didn't even ask me what sign I am.
What is your sign?
That's so dumb. I'm a Libra.
Oh, Libra.
And
Okay. I know
just,
nothing about.
Yeah, I'm like I do know
I'm a Leo.
You're a Leo. What's up, Leo? I'm married a Libra, and when we were in San Francisco, we had a guy do our charts, our moons or whatever, because he was like, "Yo, you guys can't be married." And I was like, "Oh shit, wait!" And it was already not easy. We were just a few months in, and she's like, "Why,
like, bro?"
Right? I know, like, dude, please don't. I remember the guy, and when he came, but he brought all these
He's
papers.
like sliding his number to her.
I would have beat him up. No, he did all these things, and he's like, "Okay, when were you born? Where were you born? What time? Okay, here's your moons. Okay, cool, you're compatible." And I'm like, oh God, like it would have mattered if he said we weren't. I mean, who knows? No offense to people that live by the celestial whatever, but
I think there's something to it.
I do too.
Yeah.
But that's hilarious because we're 21 years in, and every day are just like we have trouble when we have trouble. What's it called? Reality.
Yeah.
But we're always like, dude, how did we connect? Like, we like the same stuff. We enjoy doing the same things. We enjoy each other. Half the time we're like, how did we find each other? So that's cool. You're like, what did you not ask me? I'm a Libra. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you didn't ask me. I couldn't think of anything.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, that's good. I just wanted to make sure that we talked about anything you wanted to talk about.
No, yeah. I don't know. If I would have thought of it, I would have. But it's just, I just wanted to laugh.
Well, I am so grateful for you, man.
Oh, thanks, dude.
I mean,
you
have given so much to me. You have been such an inspiration, and I'm so happy to now share your gifts with the audience, to anyone who's listening.
Thanks,
and
dude. I feel the same towards you. Just so
thank you.
Yeah.
I love you.
No, I love you, man. I'm happy to share any of this anytime. There's something. Blackline is the consulting company I started.
That's what we should have asked you about.
Blackline Consulting ATX, as in Austin. BlacklineConsultingATX.com is the website, and really it just gets to where you can get to me. If I love to help people with anything and everything I can.
I was just gonna say, what do you want to give to the world through Blackline Consulting? What is it that what you're trying to give?
I think, like I said, where it's just like, if I can help you get to where you're trying to get with fewer failures that you might not need to learn, or just to confirm that you're on a path that I think, based on my experiences, is the right path.
Yeah.
I mean, my giving is helping people. And I don't, that could sound cheesy, and I'm not talking about like missionary work and stuff. Again, that stuff's awesome. But for me, it's just like helping people do what their dream is to do work-wise, because I believe, and this is another conversation, that work is who you are.
Yeah.
And your heart. And we're created and designed to work, and our work should bring us pleasure.
Yeah.
And that sounds opposite of probably what a lot of us have learned. But if I can help people find the work that is pleasure for them, that brings pleasure, then that blesses everybody.
Absolutely.
So
is there any particular type of industries that you work with? Do you, so if someone's listening and they're thinking about hiring you, who's your like ideal type of client?
I mean, because I've started service industry stuff, and whether it be retail or food or coffee, I'm not bad at those things. But I'm a pretty open book. And if I can't help my favorite part, actually, now that you've said that, is to connect people.
I was just gonna say, I've seen you do that so many times, and you're a natural. It's like one of your first inclinations.
I love
It's like,
it.
oh, I know this guy, and I want to introduce you to that guy.
And everybody benefits.
And you know so many people.
That's so
if
cool.
people are looking to get connected in their particular industry, they should call you
For sure.
because you probably know somebody that you can connect them
My
to.
Rolodex, and I'm just accepted this, is golden.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that do hire me or pay me to do something, I introduce them to everybody they need to be introduced, from coasts to other countries to, a CPA or bookkeeper, all the way to real estate and builders and music studios, and this band needs this bass player. It's really funny and awesome, because having lived behind a bar or in a shoe store on the floor all day, every day, it's not politics. I care about these people and they care about me, and we know each other and we know each other's families.
They trust you.
Well, I'm like, they trust, and I trust them.
Yeah.
Because we've known each other so long and served each other, just in having a solid relationship, that it's like almost anybody can ask me for anything. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Here's their cell.
Yeah.
And that's so cool and fun. Like people go, you're a connector. And I'm like, okay, Malcolm Gladwell, whatever. Thanks. Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. But it's like, if that's what I need to say I am, sure, man. If I can't help you, and part of hiring me, like, people say, these are the 5 things I need. I can connect them with those 5 people and then guide them into how to work with those people.
Right. You can integrate the system.
God, and that's so cool and exciting and fun. When you ask me that, I'm like, oh, I don't know what I do. It's like, that's what I do. It's like, what do you need? How can I help you get there?
You're like the wolf.
The wolf. We talked about the Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
What do we
You're
need
the
to
fixer.
call the wolf?
In the mafia, they would have called you the mechanic.
The mechanic. That'd be so sick if my card said that, or if people just started saying like Josh was the wolf.
The wolf.
Oh man, don't do that, because then I'll make that my image. I'll pull up in my Cadillac with my suit
awesome.
on. What do we need to do here? Let's clean this up.
One of the best scenes of any movie ever. By the way, actually, here's a question for you. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh my gosh, I feel obligated to say The Godfather, the first one, but just because it's like, well, of course, if I know film, it's The God. But man, I really love the first Batman.
Oh.
And I really love Edward Scissorhands.
Nice.
I know that's a Tim Burton kind of direction, but
I love
something about both of these, the nostalgia of them, but the content of something like Edward Scissorhands, like Sarah and I can watch that. It's just one that we always go back to, and it's just powerful.
So well done. Not enough people appreciate Edward Scissorhands.
It's a good
really
one.
Any Johnny Depp movie.
I don't mind. He's not hard to look at.
No, he's not hard to look at, but he's just a brilliant actor, obviously.
He is good. He's gone a little south, but God bless him.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Were you going to say?
Big Tarantino fan. So
Okay.
we were talking about Pulp Fiction, which is, I always say is my hands down my favorite. But
one.
yeah, but any 90s, early 2000s Tarantino movie.
Okay.
Love it.
I need to catch up on some of his recent stuff. The Reservoir Dogs and that, and I went on a what's his name direction with Blue Velvet, like Firewalk with Me. What's his Twin Peaks? David Lynch.
Yeah.
I went down a David Lynch hole for so long, and now I can't really watch them. Something's happened. But with something like Pulp Fiction, where that hit, when it hit with me in high school, I literally can watch it again and catch 5 new things that I missed.
Because his work is so dialogue focused. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
It's all about
which makes it timeless.
Timeless, yeah.
Who knows? We're film critics now.
Oh yeah,
this is the film hour.
I've been thinking about lately, and maybe you and I should do this segment. But I want to do this. I'm getting more involved in the social media at the gym, and I want to do a Friday film recommendations. That's something. So maybe you and I sit down and
heck yeah, man.
We'll say, hey, this is what we should watch this weekend or something.
Dude, that'd be awesome. I love that, especially if it's not like Fast. We don't have to say Fast and the Furious 6 because it's cool and we're bros. It's like, no, let's really say a movie that it's like, yo, I cried.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about
or I hated it. Whatever.
Dude, this movie sucked.
Yeah.
Watch it. It's this bad.
You're gonna hate it so bad. Well, thanks again for spending some time with me
for
today.
having me.
Yeah, and I'm super pumped to share you with the world. Whoever the last 3 people who don't already know you.
I'll stop it.
In the world. But thanks for coming on.
Of course, man. Pleasure.
All right. Well, take care of you, man.
Much love, bro.